Lemon Amiga presents a playtime video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, welcome to another Lemon Amiga playthrough review. This time we'll be taking a look at the 1990 magnetic fields game Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge, released on the Amiga in 1990. This is a rear view driving game by the team that brought you Supercars and the team that went on to create Supercars 2 and the Lotus trilogy, and games like Kid Chaos as well on the Amiga. The game opens with a very polished introduction sequence explaining the intricacies of the Lotus Esprit car, first released in the 1970s and made popular by the James Bond movie The Spy Who Loved Me. The player will gain all kinds of specs on the Turbo SE version, the special edition version of the Lotus Esprit, such as the 0-60 time, etc. And then we come to the options screen. Here you can choose between easy, medium and hard races. You can change the number of players, either single player or a two-player split screen. You can change the player's name, the gears and the control. And then the player also gets to specify a soundtrack which will be played throughout the game. Unfortunately you cannot change this once it's selected, but they did correct that problem in the subsequent Lotus 3 game. So here we are, this is the first level. It's Portugal, so let's see how we go on. Well, look at that, crashed immediately. So as you can see, the Lotus game is a very fast-moving, sprite-based arcade driving game. And the first level, Portugal, is very easy. The hardest thing is to navigate around the other cars, as you can see. And the other cars will get in your way and block the user and make life increasingly more difficult. And you might notice the player AI is a bit pathetic in this game. The players just weave from side to side, basically, and the player can easily anticipate this weave if they go in the opposite direction. Although taking cars on bends and slow cars on slow courses is rather difficult despite all that. Let's have a quick graphics comparison. This is the ZX Spectrum version, playing the same level, and as you can see, it's actually quite a valiant attempt on the Spectrum, even though it's probably just a 4-colour screen. The game moves pretty fluidly. Similar kind of thing on the Amstrad GPC version, even though the colours have dropped to 2 colours, it looks like. I'm sure Alan Sugar will be rolling in his grave looking at these pathetic screenshots compared to the Amiga version. And of course the sound as well, the Amstrad is absolutely diabolical, but not a bad effort. Now let's have a look at the Commodore 64 version and look at this. Even though there's more colours, the sound is just as awful. The collision detection is even worse. The handling is terrible. The roadside obstacles have disappeared except for the chevrons, and even though the player can get a significant amount of speed from the 64 version, it doesn't compare to the Amiga version one little bit. And taking a look finally at the Atari ST version, what the hell has happened to the legendary Atari ST sound? This sound is absolutely terrible. get me off this screen because it's just appalling. Back to the Amiga version, and after a number of laps the car will need to be refueled by pulling into the pit lane, pulling back to brake, gaining the required amount of fuel, and then the fire button again, or forward to accelerate. And on some courses the player will need to go into the pits and refuel. On some short courses that can be avoided, but it's up to the player to keep an eye on the fuel level, and as soon as it gets into the red level from the yellow, as you can see on the right hand side of the screen, then this is the indication to pit in. You'll also hear a beeping sound which prompts the player to pit in when they're just about to run out of fuel, and I can't help thinking that that beeping sound would come in handy on a real car as well. Let's have a quick speed comparison. The top level is the 53 frames per second mode, activated through WinUAE, and the bottom is the NTSC version, available to American players. And as you can see, the NTSC version is even more quick than the 53 frames per second mode on WinUAE. It really is quick, and PAL players are definitely recommended to put the game into NTSC mode. That's the NTSC finished and the PAL's still going, and we'll show you how to do those tricks at the end of this review. At the end of each course you'll be given a communication screen showing you how many points you've managed to gain over the previous races, and look at the championship table as well. And on to the next course. This is Norway. Getting slightly more difficult this time. The appearance of roadside obstacles, and on this course we have a number of rocks, and you might notice that any collisions with any of the cars or rocks will really significantly decrease the player's speed, and it really does take a long time to speed back up again, having collided with another vehicle. And so it really is essential in this game to avoid contact, not only with the barriers obviously, but with the other cars as much as possible. So let's have another look at this level, hopefully without any further collisions. But the road signs there will give you an idea of where the rocks are. All you have to do is make note of those signs and go to the opposite side of the road, and then after a few more easy bends, you'll then plunge into a tremendously fast downhill section where you must stay in the third lane to avoid the water, and that's about it. Pretty easy level on the whole, not much to be going on with once the player manages to memorise the rocks on this level. But because this is the hard level, the hard set of 15 stages, these will get progressively harder as the game continues. And here we are in Kenya. Again, a poor start, but on this level the cars do move relatively moderately in speed, so it's not that hard to catch up to them. In fact, applying the brakes every now and again can sometimes save you running into the barriers like that, and so preemptive braking can save a lot of time crashing into the back of people and getting very frustrated having to speed up again. So the graphics on this game are well done, not particularly as good as Lotus 2, but having compared with the other versions, only the ST version comes anywhere near close to the Amiga version, and the Amiga version has definitely got the best sound out of all of these versions. So let's take a speed run through this level. The corners are quite sharp, so the player will have to take the finger off the fire button or release forward to slow down slightly, regain a modicum of control back over the car, and the finger off method should just give you enough manoeuvrability to get round the players. So here we go on to Alaska, and this is quite an easy level, it has to be said, even though there are no pit stops. The only thing the player has to do is to avoid all the other cars, so let's see if we can turn that into a reality. There are no short corners on this level, no tricky bends, no plunging downhill, and certainly no road side obstacles to manoeuvre around. Very medium course, this, not very fast, not very hard at all, and as you can see I'm 10th after only the first lap, so it shouldn't be too difficult to get into first place. Let's have a speed run on this. Even though you can't see the road markings in Alaska, you can just about detect the road, and you can always navigate between the trees and stay on the right side of the chevrons. So this level is certainly not as hard as it could be if the road was the same colour as the landscape and the bends were so much more tricky. So let's complete that in first position. You might notice an R next to some of these scores, and that indicates that I've got the course record time. There is a standard time on every course, and if you beat the course record you don't get any more score for doing that, but you do get a little prestige. Now then, Malaysia is a very tricky course. The good news is that all the cars move exceedingly slow on this level, so catching up to the other players, even with these tremendously difficult crashes, isn't too much of a problem. The barriers are almost at random, but if you stick roughly to the centre of the course, it should be possible to manoeuvre around the majority of those barriers. One criticism I'd like to level at Lotus 1 is the fact that even though these are road signs, and in reality they shouldn't make a jot of difference to the speed of a real car, in Lotus 1 they stop the car almost dead, which is as far from reality as possible. What really should happen is the car should slow down perhaps halfway, and the road barriers should be flattened to allow an easier ride on the next level, but they don't. And again, crashing on this Lotus 1 is ruthless. If you crash more than half a dozen times, you can more or less write off the level. So it really is paramount to get a good driving style throughout this game, and again, anticipate the meandering left and right of the other players, the easy AI. So let's have a speed run through Canada. This is again a really easy course as long as the player remembers to take the finger off on these bends. These two bends in particular will throw the player off if the player doesn't take the finger off the fire button, and then it plunges downhill for a rapid ascent, and it's crucial to get a really good downhill section so that you can gain places on the ascent. If you crash going downhill, then you'll find every man and his dog will overtake you on the ascent, and you will feel like the hare and the tortoise. So it really is important to get a clean run on that downhill section so you can have a speedy drive over the rest. Peru marks the halfway stage of the entire game, so let's take a look at this level. You might notice the colour scheme changes slightly from level to level, which is a bonus, and certainly is a step up from the 8-bit versions. There are a smattering of different signs and things like that, but the general layout and feel of the game doesn't really change, unlike Lotus 2, whose levels really do significantly change from level to level. On this level there are a number of road signs, a number of road barriers, which tend to appear on the left and the right of the road. So all the player needs to do is stay very central, straddling the central markings, and all those road barriers can be easily avoided. There are a little bit of water traps there at the end, and they will slow the car down, not a significant amount but enough, and again maintain a central position in the road to avoid those last few barriers and complete the level. Brazil is a nighttime course, and this level would be one of the easiest courses on the calendar if it wasn't for the fact that the other players really do tear off the line on this level. Not as tricky as some of the later ones, but on this game some courses require manoeuvring around roadside obstacles, some require fingers off through tight corners. This level is very easy, no tight corners, no ascents or descents around hills, so the player can really concentrate on catching up those other players. Again, if you crash at any point on this level, you will be severely penalised by the fact that you won't be able to catch up to the other players. There are 6 stages on this level, and it'll probably take the first 3 stages to catch up to the first place positioned player, and then you will probably have to go into the pits, refuel the petrol tank to the top again, and then it'll take the final 3 stages to catch up to the first player again. But unlike Wales, which we shall see later on, the game does let you thrash around these corners and catch up to the other players as long as you don't crash. That's the most important thing, otherwise this stage isn't very hard at all. Landslides onto the track, that gives you an idea, but unlike previous landslides, rocks on the roads we've seen, the landslides on this level are do not have roadside markings. You just end up going in there by mistake on the first lap, and you just have to remember where they are over the rest of the laps. So let's have a speed run. An easy right hand and an easy left. Stay on the right hand side of the course here, perhaps veering off there to get around any idiots blocking that part of the track. A nice speedy downhill section, keep left here to avoid the second set of rocks along that dip, and then it really does even out over the rest of the circuit. Very easy indeed, just 2 sets of rocks, that's all you need to remember. As you can see, this is a 3-lap sprint race, so the most important factor of them all is to have an immaculate start, which I haven't managed to do. That will not only significantly reduce the chances of me getting to the first position, that will more or less write that first position off on this level. In fact, I have to say, the only way to get anywhere near first place on this level is to choose manual gears over the automatic settings, which we chose on the menu before we started the game. The manual gearbox can be noticeably faster in the acceleration department of the automatic, although obviously controlling the manual gearbox will require the player an extra degree of dedicated play to master, whereas the automatic gearbox should be fairly straightforward. But experienced players definitely are required to use the manual gearbox on this level if they hope to get anywhere near first position. You can see after the first lap I'm still 10th, and even though I'm hammering it round all these easy corners as fast as possible, I'm not even seeing any cars or past many cars to get any higher than 10th. Here we are, let's try and get past at least 2 on this stage, and the other players can make life difficult, even though the AI in this game, as I've said, is particularly feeble. You should be able to preempt the other players' meanderings pretty easily. But as I said, 6th place, even after another lap, is all I managed to get on that course. Really difficult. Nepal, rocks, water and oil. So let's have a look at this level. To begin with, the action is packed with cars, and that doesn't become any easier with these roadside pools of water, which is determined to slow the player down. If the player moves anywhere off the racing line, they will be caught out by those pools of water. And then on the next section we find patches of oil everywhere, which spin the car all over the place and make life difficult. And then on the downhill section we find rocks. Move to the left here, and then move to the right halfway down. This course is really difficult, particularly if you find the other cars wedged in between these obstacles. There are pools of oil and water and rocks everywhere, so again it's a lot easier if you maintain a central position on the track as much as possible to avoid those. Sometimes the oil will steer you around other vehicles by accident, sometimes it will throw you into the side of the road and the barriers, so easily avoided. And sometimes it is possible to squeeze past a number of cars on any section of any race, even on that section. Sometimes the player can be incredibly lucky, sometimes the player can be frustrated as hell. It all depends on what you get and when you get it. Now then, Russia is a special course because you might have seen their lane closures. This is the only course really with a significant amount of lane closures, which makes for a very rapid race if you don't find any enemies in the way. But if you do find other players blocking the road ahead, this course can be very, very frustrating. You cannot underestimate that fact, especially if you make rebounds and collide into other obstacles and vehicles simply for the fact that you've hit a vehicle earlier on. That can be very frustrating in this game. So let's have a little bit of a speed run. After those first few, keep right there to avoid that first section, and left to avoid those other two water sections. Keep it fairly central, darting left and right to avoid the second set of barriers. Central, left, right, left to avoid the third set. And then random barriers, they're always a pain, so go left and then veer over to the right to avoid those random barriers. Australia now marks quite easy level, it has to be said, as long as the player remembers to maintain an average speed of around 130 miles per hour. The cars on this stage will go very slow indeed, so it doesn't take a tremendous effort to catch any of the players up. But there are some very tight turns, and the sand on this level makes grip rather more difficult, so the road will throw you into the cacti should you be going too fast. And it does help to brake if you find yourself veering off the road, but otherwise, as you can hear, just taking your finger on off the fire button to hover around the 130 miles per hour mark should get you through this level no problem. And if you find the next course particularly difficult, you might find that qualifying in 10th on the Australian course gives you the advantage of starting 10 places up on the next one. So let's take a look at that next course and see how difficult that would be. Greece. Greece is greasy, and there are a lot of oil spills all the way around the track, almost at random. It helps to stay central to the track once again, not least because if you find yourself skidding off the track, you can correct yourself hopefully before you collide into the barriers of the palm trees. Stick left here to avoid those oil traps there, and stay left. There is some oil there which will throw you into the sides. In fact, there are oil patches all the way around this track. There are no guaranteed ways of getting through it, particularly if there are cars which you have to manoeuvre not only the oil and the cars as well. So this level can really make life difficult. Let's try and get some speed through this and have a bit of a speed run at it to see how easy it can be once the other players melt into the background. As you can see, I'm still 13th even after 3.5 laps, So that gives you an idea of the significant amount of crashing I've managed to do over this game. And again, just crashing into the back of another player will take you maybe a third of a lap, maybe even half a lap to even catch up to those guys again. So crashing into anything is the only thing really to be avoided. Beeping noise means I have to fuel in between the U and the E for 2 laps, over the F for 3 laps, and since there's 3 laps to go at the end of this, to complete this level, I fueled up above the F, and I've just made it. And again, I only managed to get 10th. If I'd have qualified 10th on this course, I might have qualified first going into the last course, which is Antarctica. And by the same token, if you qualify 10th on Greece, you will qualify 11th in Antarctica, which does give you a little bit of advantage. But because this is the hardest course on the entire game, not much of an advantage. This course is very fast. It contains very tight bends, which you have to preempt as much as possible. It's very difficult to take cars on those tight bends, as you can see, and they will ricochet you into the barriers should you be unlucky enough, which leads you, as you can see, to 20th place even after 1 full lap. And that means you've written your chances off of completing this stage, completing the level, and to get the best possible score of the entire game. So actually, manual gears again is recommended. Not crashing into any single car is recommended, preempting all these bends, particularly this downhill section, which is really fast. And sometimes if you get a car just at the right place, just on the bend, you can make a passing manoeuvre, but bang, just getting behind the wrong car at the wrong time, or at the wrong section of the road, which throws you off into the snow, is certainly difficult. The snow levels were improved massively in Lotus 2 and beyond, and the difficulty curve was increased as well. But looking at this, I mean, look at this, 11th place and still a third of the level completed. I can't see any of the other players, even though I'm hammering around all these bends. So that just gives you some idea of the level of difficulty on this last course. So what can I say about Lotus 1? The sound is pretty okay. You'll hear the obligatory magnetic fields vacuum cleaner engine noises on this game, just like Supercars 1 and 2 and the other Lotus series that became a trademark, shall we say. I don't think the actual Lotus sounds like a vacuum cleaner, but that's what you get on this game. Apart from that, the screeching noise are well done. The music is pretty rocky, even though you can't change the music once the game starts. Sometimes the track 4 is the best one, otherwise thankfully the game does allow you to play with sound effects. The graphics are pretty adequate, but again, Lotus 2 really excelled the graphics as far as the Lotus games would go. Playability wise, the cars aren't very intelligent, though the tracks can be fun. They can also be very, very frustrating as well, especially when you gain a higher position there, go into the pits, and then when you come out you find yourself all the way back in the pack again. So it's a mixed bag really. That's one of my average scores, 258 points. I got during this level. I'm quite rusty at this game, but that's a very good score by any standards. Now let's take up the NTSC fixed version that I created for the Amiga HD Games Org UK website that I once ran with Kieran Wilkinson, who went on to create the CAPS project and later SPS, and is currently still working for the SPS. So I'm probably the last in the world to have that NTSC patched version. But what that will do is play the game as I described earlier in NTSC mode, which is significantly faster than the PAL version, and even though the music plays faster, the game plays maybe 20%, maybe 15% faster than the normal version. And finally, what else can you do in this game? Well, If you select the 2-player mode in the menu, type player 1's name as Monster and player 2's name as 17 and press fire, you will then be presented with a bonus game. There are bonus games in many Gremlin games, such as Chrome and Ducks in Lotus 2, that kind of thing. On this one we get a basic shoot 'em up, kind of like an Asteroids game, and the aim is to simply survive as long as possible. That's a 9-second survival attempt. You don't get any lives or anything like that. This is just a hidden bonus game in the Lotus 1, and as you can see, if you put the auto fire on, the game is significantly easier. But having said that, it's still a very, very hard game to complete, if it is possible at all to complete it. So, thank you for this review of Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge. Look forward to guiding through Lotus 2 at a later stage. Thank you.